breathe underwater.
Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Bacon. Welcome to the show. Today, I'm going to be telling you a story about this brother named Maxi. We'll call him Chris for the sake of the show, right? You know how I am. I normally don't like to use individuals' real name, but I want to protect their privacy. You know what I'm saying? They share these intimate stories with me, and or I have knowledge of these stories one way or the other. And I just want to make sure that the individuals that that I talk about in the stories are not disrespected or in some kind of way feel like I betrayed their trust when they, tell me these stories. Now, this individual told me this story years and years and years ago. And as far as I know, he's out now and doing okay and all this. But anyway, this story is about this brother named Maxi, right? And Maxi grew up in a household where he had a father that was there, but most of the time he was out on the town, messing with other women, had a lot of kids all over the town. And so Maxi's mother, she had to basically raise him on her own. She had a job, working second shift at the grocery store in the town. And when she was working the grocery store one afternoon, she was mopping and sweeping and cleaning up and whatnot. She fell and hurt her back. And when she fell and hurt her back, it was so serious that they called an ambulance and had to take her to the hospital. Now, at this time, Maxi, Chris, he's 9 years old. So when his mother comes home, they took her to the hospital in the ambulance for precaution and all this and that. And once they got her there, that she had some serious pain, but they scheduled her to see the doctor later on. So she came home that night. She was stiff and walking real gingerly. And he asked her what was wrong. And she told him, I fell in the store, mopping and cleaning up in the store. And I hurt my back. That's what his mom told him. So the next day, she went to see the doctor. And the doctor prescribed his mom some opioids for pain, back pain, right? Now, excuse me, I'm taking a sip of water because I still got this lingering cold. I don't know what it is. But anyway, she got prescribed some opioids, and the doctor told her that, he wouldn't keep her on this for too long, but she was on these opioids for about 6 months. And she had become addicted to this because without those pills, her back hurt all the time. They did x-rays and all that. They saw that nothing was broken or anything like that, but she had this persistent, continuing lower back pain, and it hurt her every morning to get up. So she would pop a pill. Once she popped a pill, she's good to go. She go to work, everything's fine until the pill wore off, and then she would have to start all over again. But this process ended up addicting her to these pills. Now, when the doctor abruptly called her in, she went to get another prescription, a subscription. Is it prescription or subscription? Oh, it's prescription. Subscription is something you give to a magazine. Prescription is something you get to medicine. Yes, prescription. She went in and got another prescription and the doctor told her, look, he had to take her off, right, but he would put her on something else. So he told her that she needed to take either ibuprofen or Tylenol 3s, right? So she did that. She thought that would work, and it did nothing. She felt absolute pain in her lower back every day. So she stuck with it for about a week or so, and it was doing no good. Absolutely no good. Now, one day, when she was at the house, she was off on the weekend, and Chris's father comes by. Keep in mind, Chris is still 9 years old, so he's trying to make these appearances so he can, try to have some influence over how Chris is going to be raised and, trying to raise a man, even though he wasn't being, the right and the best role model. He still wanted to be involved in his son's life. So he came over and he noticed that, Chris's mom was in a lot of pain. He knew that she had fallen. He knew that she was on pills at one time, another, whatever, but she had been taken off him. So he was like, look, I see if I can find you some, you know what I'm saying, and get you some help and whatnot, right? So he knew all the people in the street. So he goes out, you know what I'm saying, after he visits with Chris and spends some time with him, he goes out into the streets and he finds his ex, Chris's mom, some pills. Found some pills, some oxys. So he gets those pills, he takes them back to her, you know, and he pays for them. He didn't even charge her. You know, I guess that was a good thing. But anyway, he gives her the pills, and she's happy to have them. She pops the pills, and pain gone away. So, but he didn't give her a lot of them because he got what he could get. You know, I think he had maybe 8 or 10 pills or whatever. That would last for, you know what I'm saying, a week, a little bit longer than a week because she took 1 pill a day. She was fine. After those 10 days were gone, she called him back and she asked him, could you get me some more pills? And he said that he didn't have any money. So she asked him how much would it cost. And he told her, and she said, I'll see what I can do to scrape up this money. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, don't forget, she worked at a grocery store. She's not making a lot of money. With that check and the child support that he was paying, she was still barely making it. Now she has this other expense, you know what I'm saying, to pay for these pills, because you got to keep in mind, when she was getting the prescription from the doctor, she had insurance that was helping pay for those pills, right? So, with that said, now you got to come out of pocket when you buying in the streets. Ain't no Medicaid or Medicare in the streets, y'all. You know that. So she tries to scrape up some money, but she couldn't get up enough money. So she got up enough money to get her 4 or 5 pills. She said she was going to have to make it work. So when she got the pills, she cut them in half. And it turns out that worked. She felt a little pain, but not much, but it was enough to get her through. So those 4 or 5 pills, she stretched them to about 8 to 10 days. So she started doing that. And every week, that was her routine. So now she's calling him every week, asking him to help out. And like a lot of people do, he saw an opportunity to take advantage of that. So he started to tell her, look, I'll help you out with these pills. You know, I'll stay over here every now and then and look out for you and, you know, Chris, and help out around the house and all this and that. So he basically had eased his way back in. He saw that she had become addicted to these pills. So now he's moved back in. He's sleeping in the bed with her, there, you know, acting as if, you know, playing house. And Chris is noticing all of this. He's noticing all of this, but he's noticing how his mom is not happy. She's on these drugs. This man that disrespects her, that's still sleeping around in the neighborhood, has eased his way back in as if he was trying to help her, you know what I'm saying, because he was able to provide her with these pills. So one day, she just has it, you know, enough. She cannot continue to deal with him, because now when she's working at the store, she's hearing people talk about, you know what I'm saying, how he moved back in, and she's hearing these other people talk about, you know, the women that he's messing with. So this particular day, one of the other women that Chris's father has kids by comes into the store and confronts Chris's mother. And they have this big argument in front of her supervisor, and her supervisor tells her, look, we can't be doing this. You know, that you're going to have to make a choice. You're going to have to be at work, keep it professional. You keep that other stuff out of the streets, out at home, or you're going to lose your job. So she couldn't afford to lose her job. So she goes to tell Chris's father, say, look, if you're going to be back over here, you have to make a choice. Are you going to be with me, or are you going to be out in the streets? You can't have both. So he told her, he said, look, if I leave you on your own, you got to get your own pills. Now, at that point, that's when that addiction just pulled at her. It pulled at her because she knew that she needed these pills, but she did not want what he was offering her. He was using her. He was taking advantage of her. So she told him, she said, look, leave, get out. And Chris saw that his mother was messed up about that. She was crying, and he went to comfort her. Keep in mind, he's 9 years old. He's 9 years old. What can he do? So he's comforting his mother and all of these different types of things. You know what I'm saying? So his mother, she finds herself in a place mentally, spiritually, and the physical pain of the Oxycontin. Keep in mind, right, that Oxycontin, you know what I'm saying, that's a derivative of morphine. And that's what they, you know what I'm saying, they make heroin out of that too. You understand what I'm saying? So, where they make the Oxycontin out of a derivative of heroin, you know what I'm saying, the morphine. So you got to keep in mind that she's struggling. She don't want to be mistreated by this man, but at the same time, she needs those pills because she feels she can't make it. The pain is too much. So she goes back to the doctor and she begs this doctor, please help me. Please help me. And this doctor, he takes advantage of her. He tells her, yeah, he can help her if she provides him with some sexual favors. And she was so beaten down. She was in so much pain. She did it. And he would do her a favor, as he put it, and give her enough pills to last her for 30 days. In her mind, she rationalized this beats what she was getting from Chris's father. 10 days for half of pills and him living there and mistreating her. She having to hear about all of the other things he was doing and running into some of the other women that he was messing with at her workplace, jeopardizing her job. At least with this doctor, she didn't have to see him but once a month when she came to get pills, and nobody else knew about it. But it was doing something to her spirit. It was degrading her. It was making her feel like she was less than, but this pain was so overwhelming that she continued to do it. And she did this for years. She did this for years. Now, at this particular time, Chris is about 12 or 13 years old now, and this doctor gets busted. It turns out that this doctor had been doing this for several years with different women, right? And it turns out that he had been under surveillance. So the DEA, they go to Chris's house and talk to his mother. And they ask her what had been, had he ever propositioned her for sexual favor, this and that, because they saw through their surveillance that she was in and out of this, his doctor's office at least once a month. And there was no record of her being able to get pills. So they were talking to her, and she confessed to providing him with sexual favors and all this and that, right? So they took her statement. They didn't charge her. They were going to use her as a witness, like an unindicted co-conspirator, you know what I'm saying, because she was getting these drugs illegally. As long as she testified against him, she wouldn't go to prison. So she agreed to that reluctantly and didn't say anything to anybody. She just showed up whenever they told her to show up to take statements and all this and that while they're still investigating. So fortunately, in the game, as it goes, this is something that is fortunate for a lot of people. The doctor decided to plead guilty. That meant that she didn't have to testify. That meant that nobody would find out what she had actually done. So that problem, that as far as being in court and everybody knowing what she did, that went away. But now you have her still addicted to these drugs, and the addiction is worse now. The addiction is worse. Now, Chris is 12 years old at this particular time, and he's been learning the ways of the streets. He's still been having contact with his father, and he's watching his father from a distance. He's hearing about his father, and his reputation in the streets as a womanizer, you know what I'm saying? But and as a petty drug dealer, not somebody that's major in the business like that, right? So the people in the streets, they started to recognize Chris. He show up here and there every now and then, right? So Chris loves his mother, and he notices, you know what I'm saying, that she's strung out. She's still going to work. Keep in mind, you got a lot of people like that. They can still go to work as long as they get what they need in the morning. So she was struggling. She had found somebody that can give her 3 or 4 pills here and 3 or 4 pills there. That wasn't, you know what I'm saying, out there like that, and people knew that what she was doing. So she scraped up what she could. So Chris, recognizing, he's watching how this person that's providing his mother these 3 and 4 pills is maneuvering. And now this dude he's not that much older. He's a teenager. But he's not a grown man. He's like 16, 17 years old, but he's providing Chris's mother with these pills. Nothing sexual going on at all. It's just that she found somebody that she could get these pills from. You know what I mean? Now, but she can't get what she needs fully. So Chris, he befriends this guy, and he's talking to him. You know, he sees him come over the house. So now, when his mom would come home every now and then, Chris and this young man that was providing her with these few pills that he could, they would be in the house playing video games and stuff like that and kicking it. You know what I'm saying? And now Chris is starting to look at this individual like a big brother. And he's schooling Chris in how to get money in the streets. He's telling him all the ins and the outs and who to talk to and this and that. So Chris learns the game. So he decides, look, I'm going to start selling me some drugs because keep in mind, their situation, they're okay, but they don't have much. They don't have much. And if not for her addiction, they would have been okay. But they don't have much, but they have each other and they love each other. And in his mind, he says, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to sell these drugs. I'm going to get them for my mother. Keep in mind, he's 12, about to turn 13. So he gets the connection with his new friend, the one that's providing his mom with 3 or 4 pills here and there, because this young man, he mainly sells weed. He comes across some pills and he gets them for her, and she pays him, and that's that on that. And that's the end of that. To him, it's just business. He's not trying to cross that line. He has a girlfriend. He's a typical teenager. He's not trying to be with a grown woman or anything like that. He hadn't been turned out in the game like that to take advantage of people. You know what I'm saying? He's just trying to get him some money to get tennis shoes and all of those types of things. So Chris starts to nurture his own connections. And his main concern is his mother, and he gets these pills, so he's providing his mother with these pills. And his mother is so embarrassed, so ashamed that she's conflicted. He'll give her the pills and she'll like, where'd you get these? And he'll tell her, make up a lie. But she knew that that's what he was telling her was not possible. Nobody's just going to give you these pills. And the young man that was selling them to Chris's mother, she knew that he wasn't giving him those pills. So she tried to figure out what he was doing, but at the same time, she took the pills. And she would ask him, tell me the truth. Tell me what you're doing. But she never told him not to do it. She wanted to know what he was doing. And that is how an addiction will make you put your moral compass to the side. She didn't want him doing it, but she was so far gone, she needed those pills just to continue to provide for him. That was her rationale. That was her rationale. She was willing to let her son help her with this addiction. She told herself that everything would be okay. So Chris, he's out there. And they're doing okay because he's still making a little money on the side to help out with the groceries and things like that. And he's buying his own shoes and clothes and stuff like that. And he's helping out his mom. She's still working. She didn't quit. And the supervisor didn't fire her, even though he knew she was on drugs, but he understood that she was hurting. You understand what I'm saying? So once Chris got a little older and he was more established, he told his mom, he said, look, he's about 15 at this point. He told his mom, he said, look, I'm going to make sure that you're straight, but I'm not going to be able to go to school every day. And when he told her that, it broke her. It absolutely broke her because she did not want him to quit school because she knew that an education was vital for him to be able to make it in the world and be a better person than she turned out to be. She worked and she hoped that that would be the best example for him, but she was an addict and she knew it and he knew it, and she wasn't getting any help, from her son's father other than the child support that he was paying, which is, that's what he's obligated to do, but he was not the best role model. And she felt so bad that she had let him down. She had made him feel or believe, she thought, that he needed to be out there in the streets to help provide for them. And he jumped all the way off the porch out in the streets. And now he's selling weed, cocaine, and any pills that he came across. He wasn't selling them. He was bringing them home to his mother. One day, one of the guys that he was in the streets with getting money told him, said, look, why don't you try this heroin? You know what I'm saying? This is stronger. This will help your mom better than those pills. So he took the heroin home and he was telling his mom that she needed to try this. This would be better. And plus, he could get more of this and it would take less of it for her to use to relieve the pain that she was going through. So she tried it. And the way she tried it, she snorted it and all this and that. And keep in mind, he's about to turn 16. She tries it, she snorts it, and it helps her, but it made her sick, extremely sick. So Chris goes back and he's talking to the dude, and the dude tells him, look, you might need to let her shoot it. You know what I'm saying? Ask her, does she know how to use a needle? And Chris goes back and he asks his mom, and his mom says no. And she said, I just can't do that. I'm afraid to use a needle, all this and that, right? And she's an addict, though. She's full-fledged, she's gone, but she's never done it like that. So the guy says that he would show Chris and Chris could show his mother. So one of the people that had come by there to buy some drugs from this guy, he asked them to let Chris watch her shoot up some drugs. And she did. And he figured, okay, I can show my mom this. So when he got home that day, later that night, he had a syringe and some heroin. And he told his mother, he said, look, I'm going to show you how to do this, and this will help you better. So his mom, she's kind of like, she wants to do it, but she's afraid because she's heard the stories and all this and that, but you got to keep in mind again, she's so far gone, any plausible option for her that would relieve the pain that she was experiencing, not only from her back, but you got to remember something, y'all. I want y'all to understand this. And if you've never been on drugs, please don't get on drugs. But anybody out there that's ever been on opioids or heroin, they can tell you that's a physical drug. See, cocaine is a mental thing, but that heroin, them opioids, they physically hurt your body. Physically hurt. And she had seen people that were on those drugs and how they would go downhill real fast, but she was in pain, not only from her back, but now she was in pain from the actual use of the drugs. Her body was breaking down. So she needed something to relieve all the pain that she was feeling every day. So Chris, he took the towel, right? It's something to towel for right around her muscle, right? And when he tied it off, the veins popped up in the middle of her arm, right where your arm folds. And he took the syringe, he took the dope, he put it in the spoon, put a little, water in it, burnt it, cooked it, up, got a little warm, and then he sucked it up in the syringe and he injected it into his mother's arm. And when he injected it, listen to me, he injected this into his mother's arm and she collapsed forward onto him. And she looked up at him. And the look on her face was one of pleasure and pain. And Chris held her in his arms while she cried. And he cried with her because he knew his mother was a full-fledged addict and that he didn't know what to do. At this point, he's about to turn 16, y'all. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't have any real role models to go to. He don't know what to do. But tune into the next episode, y'all, and I'm going to tell you what happens with Chris and his mother. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.
I've been trying to breathe underwater.